Hello and welcome to the Freelance Festival, where each week we meet new business owners who share their expertise on how to run a successful business. This week we're talking about something that everyone's had to get to grips with lately, setting up for remote working. In particular, how to set up your IT in the right way and how to ensure you get the most out of it. Sharing his expertise on the subject matter is IT consultant and founder of Vividly Simple, Andy Steer.
Many people find IT a frustrating and expensive inconvenience, but it doesn't have to be that way. With the right IT set up in the right way, it can work quietly in the background, helping your business run smoothly and efficiently. Of course, the challenge is, how do I choose the right IT for my business? I've worked in IT and telecoms and outsourcing for both large multinationals, as an independent consultant, and now as my own small business for many, many years. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through some of the key considerations, some of the key building blocks, and give you some hints and tips to help you get started with some IT that can really make a difference to your business. So we're going to start with 3 key considerations to help inform your decision making right up front. We're going to go through 3 key building blocks that for most of our customers will represent the bulk of your IT needs. And then we're going to finish off with some key practical ways that IT can actually save you time day to day in your business. So, consideration number 1, you need to be thinking about keeping people connected. Whether you're a large business, a small business, or a solopreneur, you're going to have an environment around you with people that need to interact with you, your services, and your products. So keeping people connected, whether it's a team, a supplier, or a customer, is one of the most important factors when choosing the right IT. Being connected means a bit more than just email. These days, if you're an organization or a small business that used to operate in an office, you'll find that replacing those day-to-day interactions that used to happen across the desk or by the water cooler is one of the key areas to help keep your business productive. And of course we've got email, but in the first lockdown, many people forgot about things like business telephones. And bringing all of these communication tools together in one place is a really important consideration when you start to think about choosing IT that's going to set your business up for the future. The second key consideration is we still have obligations under GDPR to keep data protected. But it's not just about GDPR. These days, with all of us working on unfamiliar devices in unfamiliar environments, the bad guys are having a field day, and cybercrime is rising faster than it ever has before. So keeping data protected follows some key principles. You need to be thinking about your devices on the one hand, and anything that's off your device in a network or a cloud or any other environment is a key consideration for choosing how the technology that's going to shape your business comes together. And then the third consideration, which is perhaps a bit more exciting, is that IT gives us the opportunity, at least, to automate those tedious tasks that nobody likes to do. If you take a step back and maybe involve people you work with to understand how many times during the working day or the working week you're entering the same information into different tools or applications or devices, you might be surprised. It's the sort of thing that human beings hate doing, and it's the sort of thing that technology was designed to do. So automating those tedious tasks is one of the best ways to get a return on any investment you make in your technology. So those are the 3 sort of headline considerations to take into account. Where we move on to next is the 3 building blocks that for almost every small business should form the basis of your IT strategy, your IT architecture, or your IT thinking. These aren't going to cover everything, but they are going to cover, I would guess, something in the region of 80% of all of the useful things that IT can do for you. So we're going to start with a CRM, customer relationship management. There are hundreds of options out there, And it's really, really easy to spend an absolute fortune. But it's not necessary. And for most of our clients, who are the smaller businesses and solopreneurs, the more straightforward CRMs for just a few pounds a month are more than adequate to help them manage their pipeline. So a CRM really is the tool that covers your customer engagement. That's what it's designed to do. It's designed to help you track who you've been speaking to, what your business with them might be, and take them through what is usually referred to these days as the sales funnel, so that you can manage your pipeline and your business expectations in terms of revenue. So CRMs need setting up pretty well in the first place, and they tend to work best with a few little add-ons around the edges that we'll come to shortly. But a CRM is one of the must-have building blocks when you're looking to build the IT for your small business. So the second building block, not quite as exciting as the first perhaps, but equally important, is to have an accounting package that's cloud-based, like Xero or QuickBooks or the equivalents from Sage or many other providers. These days, with making tax digital and the requirement to have real-time accounting information with HMRC, it makes no sense whatsoever to try and do it any other way. These accounting packages actually lend themselves really well to working with an accountant, either who provides you with the package and configures it and manages it for you, or at the very least helps you set it up so that their job at the end of the quarter or the financial year is that much easier. A little bit of investment in the accounting package during the course of the year can always save you at least that amount of money when it comes to the end of the year and your accountant's fees. So the second building block, accounting software. And then perhaps the most boring of all is the building block that most of our customers turn to us for. And that is that it makes absolute sense to put the rest of your business administrative IT into one place. What do I mean by business IT? I'm talking about things like email, I'm talking about things like file sharing and controlling who has access to what data, when they have access. All of those things lend themselves very well to a single integrated cloud-based platform. And when I'm talking about a single integrated cloud-based platform, for most people, that means a choice between Microsoft or Google. It means a choice between Microsoft 365 or Google Workplace. Some of you might know that as Google G Suite. So these platforms are a really valuable starting point for a small business because whether it be Google or Microsoft, they've done all of the hard work for you. They've created data centers that are going to keep your data secure. They've created email systems that are going to improve the deliverability of your emails and help make sure that they actually get to the destination that you want them to get to. And they've created audit trails, provided you've bought the business versions of these software, so that you can actually go back and have a record of who has accessed what information when. From a GDPR data protection perspective, that's a really important thing, and you simply don't get it with the personal versions of these pieces of software. There's one thing in particular that is relevant these days that is absolutely at the heart of business admin, and that is the fight to get our emails delivered to the destination we want and to prevent emails that we don't want from ending up in our inbox. These days, the big internet email providers are all adjusting their spam filters and their protection mechanisms because, as I mentioned earlier, the cyber criminals, the bad guys in all of this, are having an absolute field day with the COVID-19 restrictions and the extra pressure that that's putting on people. So getting your emails delivered and blocking emails that you don't want delivered is a really important consideration for businesses of any size. I don't want to bore you with the technology behind it, so write these down if you want to, but you need to be looking at your DNS records, and in particular you look at SPF and DKIM and DMARC. And these are records that sit with your domain registrar You adjust them to confirm who or what or where certain devices are allowed to send emails on your behalf. And if they're not on the list, the chances are your emails will end up in people's junk folder, or what many people don't actually realize is they never even make it as far as the junk folder because they're blocked and put into the big junk folder within the email providers. So one takeaway is definitely look at your DNS settings. If you don't understand it, ask someone like me or your website provider to help you do it, but it's a really, really important thing these days. So there are your three main building blocks. And as I mentioned earlier, it's a really important consideration to keep the number of tools you need or the number of tools you use to a minimum. It may not feel like it now, but as you get busier, as you get more customers, as you take on more people, if that's the intention for your business, you'll really see the benefit in having as few places to go to run all of the little bits of admin that you need to manage. But those three building blocks won't cover everything. And there's a fourth block in the slides there that you'll see that is a recognition of that. And the sort of things that are going to go into that are the little add-ons that sit around the other packages to help make them just add that little bit of extra value. If we're talking about CRM, they usually work quite closely with things like email marketing systems. So if you're going to use something like MailerLite or MailChimp to create your customer lists, then that's the sort of thing that would sit really neatly around a CRM system. If you're going to use a little app that allows you to take pictures of your receipts and upload them automatically to your accounting system, that's another useful little app that sits in that add-on box. And there are many, many that sit around the business admin. The great news is, whether you choose Google or Microsoft, those business admin cloud-based tools come with loads of additional apps. Things that allow you to automate the process of booking customer appointments. Things that allow you to have a scheduler to help you manage your time. Online forms that allow you to collect information digitally straight into a database or a system. But be cautious, because this is an area where it's all too easy to just go out and see the next shiny, bright app that's on offer out there in the marketplace. And before you know it, you're bringing into your environment tools that you already have. And that doesn't make sense, either from a technical perspective, because they won't integrate as well, but also from a financial perspective. There's no point in going and buying a tool that doesn't do anything different to the tool you've already got. You just didn't know it was there. So that box will be different for each of you. There will be things that you do that mean you have a need to fill those 15, 20% of IT needs that those three main building blocks don't deliver. And that leads us quite neatly onto automation. Because really, when you talk about automation, it sounds all very fancy, but what we're looking at is ways that we can make these building blocks work better together. So if you look at something that combines your CRM and your business admin, we'd be looking at things like automatically copying emails that you send to clients into that client's CRM record. If you look about business admin and some of these other apps, it may be that you need a third-party meetings booking app that can collect payment. That doesn't come as standard in the Microsoft bookings app, for example. So you might need to look at a third-party app like Acuity. But the automation comes with making those two things work together so that you minimize any human involvement that might be necessary. And I already spoke earlier about apps that can allow you to take a photograph of a receipt or an invoice and automatically populate your accounting system like Xero or QuickBooks. The one we use is Receipt Bank, but there are many, many others. And if you operate in a professional services environment, you probably want to look at some sort of app that allows you to record your time against certain customers and certain projects. But when you do that, don't create a manual process for yourself. Choose the app that integrates with the tools that you've chosen for your building blocks, and make sure that the seamless process of collecting data to posting it wherever it needs to end up happens without human intervention. So that's the summary of how do you go about choosing the right IT for your business. Really now it's over to you. All I can do is leave you with these few hints and tips and reminders to point you in the right direction. Remember, choosing the right IT isn't easy. Choosing the wrong IT usually ends up way more expensive than if you'd gone down the right route in the first place. So it's worth pausing, talking to people who understand the environment and what's available, whether that's a professional or your friend who's pretty IT savvy, or someone ideally who's already done it. If they're in your business or a similar line of business, their needs will be fairly similar to yours. Please keep the number of IT systems that you use to a minimum. It sounds daft. Everyone thinks, yeah, it's no problem, this works, that works, it's all going to be great. But at some point in your growth of your business, you will look back and think, I wish I'd kept that simple. And please, unless you're a real IT geek, unless you love messing around with IT, for the business admin building block, start with Google or start with Microsoft. If your business is going to grow and if you're going to have more people involved, Microsoft offers the best commercial and the best range of apps at the moment. But there's a big niche of people who really like Google, and the Google application workspace is a really good tool to use as well. Bear in mind, lots of people that you're going to interact with will be using Microsoft. And at some point, that may mean that you need the Microsoft applications anyway, and that would mean that you might be spending double. So if you're not sure, the safer route to go is the Microsoft route. To get the best out of each of these building blocks, you don't need to spend a fortune on an ongoing basis, and you don't need to spend a fortune each month for subscriptions. If you have a rule of thumb of £10 per person per month for the licenses, you won't be far wrong. But where I really would recommend you spend a bit of money up front is getting expert advice and support to configure them in the first instance. Like most things in life, if you set them up properly at the beginning, they'll continue to run well and give you years of service. And finally, when you do identify a new need, take a look at what you've got first. If you look at Microsoft, for example, their 365 license comes with something like 25 different apps. They may not suit your need, but they may do. And if you can keep everything condensed, using as few tools as possible, you'll be set up well for the future. So, that's it. Thank you for watching. You can find me at vividlysimple.com. Please feel free to get in touch. We're always happy to have a really informal, really relaxed chat. And if I can help you on the road to choosing the right IT for your business, I'd be really happy to.